many people in the world ever get a chance to do this. I'm actually standing on top of an iceberg that's broken off the coast of Antarctica. I've never felt so isolated and insignificant. I'm on what the Australians down here call a mega jolly, the flight of a lifetime. But I do have a job to do. I'm here to research and write the history of Australians in Antarctica. We're just off the coast, flying over the frozen ocean studded with huge grounded icebergs. It's a big day. If everything goes according to plan, I'll see the magnificent penguins at Aurora and Mawson Station, the last home of the huskies. We're in the Australian Antarctic Territory, flying from Davis Station, 100 kilometres southwest to the Lasman Hills. Australians aren't the only people living in these parts. I've got an unusual stopover to make here. We're dropping in on the Chinese. This is Zhongshan Station.
The Zhongshan leader, Mr. Yu. How do you do? Mr. Steve. Yeah. Thank you for having us. Yeah.
This is the biggest reception committee I've had so far in Antarctica.
Please. Thank you very much. Yeah. Quite an invasion of Australians.
The ritual greeting from the station leader, Mr. Yan, is quite a startling change from the rather laid-back way Australians do things down here.
你说这是我这个虽然是第3次来南极工作考察，我下边是这个也有这个子女哈，也有孙子，当时在这里这个我们长时间1年呐1年多不能见面，这个思想啊，我也非常想念我的老伴儿啊，也想念我的儿子啊孙子的。
Oh yeah.
It's the same for everyone.
There's always been a great camaraderie among people who live and work in Antarctica. Not even the Cuban crisis or the Berlin Wall affected good relations down here. The Russians, Americans and Australians first worked together back in 1957 and still do today. It's ironic, really, that the Cold War never came to Antarctica. The Chinese have built Zhongshan on territory actually claimed by Australia. Under the Antarctic Treaty, that's quite okay. The reality is, anyone can set up shop where they like in Antarctica. The Russians are here too. Progress Station is just 10 minutes up the road. Budget cuts have meant there's no one home at the moment. It's been deserted since the breakup of the Soviet Union. They've left it looking a bit like a battleground. Zhongshan is a low-budget operation. They don't have regular heating, and it's around 0 degrees in here. What a feast! My timing's impeccable. But it's certainly not in my honour. It's all to celebrate the founding of the station 6 years ago. And it looks and smells delicious. It was just as well we bought a couple of cases of extremely cold beer.
Oh, Mr. Yan, some Australian beer should go very well with this. 美国人也懂造菜的。
我们因为这次人员来的比较少，这个人比较多，我们的炊事员都减掉了。我们每一个人呢，现在都是炊事员。
Chef or no chef, this is the best meal I've had in Antarctica.
Okay.
Okay, cheers.
欢迎你，
干杯，
干杯。
I would love to come there. 他希望下次再来。
OK， 欢迎，我非常欢迎你再来。
I've been entertained superbly by Mr. Yan, but already it's time to leave.
Thank you very much indeed.
谢谢，非常谢谢。
I'll take that back to Australia with me.
The next leg of our journey is a 600-kilometre flight from Zhongshan past the Prince Charles Mountains to Mawson Station. We've got 3 hours flying ahead of us in the only long-range helicopters down here. They always fly in pairs for safety. If there's a mechanical problem, the second chopper can land and rescue us. But if bad weather forces us both down, no one can reach us. We're on our own now. There's absolutely nothing between us and Mawson but ice. Looking down at what's below, it's comforting to be flying with an Antarctic veteran, Pip Turner.
Do you like flying down here? I think I must. This is my 9th trip, so I think I must do it. It's very, very awe-inspiring. It's very humbling because it makes you feel very small and very insignificant.
Royal Australian Air Force pilots began flying in this area 40 years ago. They first operated from ice airstrips in fragile little Oster aircraft. The Osters were underpowered and not designed for Antarctic conditions, but they flew thousands of kilometres over the unknown interior. The pilots were the first to see and photograph the full extent of the great Prince Charles Mountain ranges. They were out here with no reliable weather forecasts and only rudimentary maps. It was Antarctic pioneering. The Antarctic is still one of the most hazardous places to fly in the world.
What would you say are the main differences between flying, say, in Australia and flying in the Antarctic? The big difference here is scale. When you look down in Antarctica and you see a rock outcrop, you don't know whether it's a pebble, it's a boulder, or whether it's the size of a house or a car. You have absolutely no idea, so therefore you have no perception of distance or of scale. In fact, if you look way out to the left, about 100 miles out, you'll see the Prince Charles Mountains.
The air is so clear down here, you can see right to the horizon. It's hard to believe some of these peaks are more than 3 kilometres high.
Are we on track? Everything okay for Mawson?
Yep,
and we'll be there in 35 minutes.
Mawson was Australia's first Antarctic station. Australia had wanted to build a base in Antarctica since 1947, but they had to wait 7 years to find a ship strong enough to penetrate the pack ice. In 1954, the Kista Dam finally broke through to reach the coast. It was a race against time. The ship had to leave before it was frozen in. They only had 12 days to build a few basic huts to survive the approaching winter. The preparation had been meticulous, but no one really knew what Antarctica had in store. These men and their equipment were being put to the ultimate test in total isolation. By the end of February 1954, 10 members of ANARI, Australian National Antarctic Research Expeditions, were ready for their first winter on the continent. After 3 hours flying high over the ice cap, it's a great relief to see Mawson Station, the westernmost point of my journey. The station is a crazy jumble of the old and the new, but after the reception by the Chinese, I feel somewhat neglected. Most of the original huts are still here and still being used. It looks like I'll be bunking down in one of them. I've got the job of writing the history of Australians in Antarctica, and this is just the place to help me get a feel for what it was really like. The cubicles are tiny, but they gave men their only private space on the station. This is how it was in the 1950s. In those days, living in Antarctica was a mix of everyday routine and high adventure. It was tough and often dangerous, but they knew the exhilaration of pioneering in an era of basic discovery and exploration. For some ANARI men, this Antarctic life became an addiction. Bob Orchard is a veteran radio operator. Now the old hut where he used to work is being gutted.
Sad sight in a way, Bob.
Well, it is, mate. This is what's left. It's a great place, hive of activity. All the stuff's been pulled out to be sent back to Hobart.
Like many of the old hands, Bob has been back to Antarctica year after year. But this is the last time.
I've lived in Antarctica for 6.5 years, and they've been 6.5 good years. Yeah, Antarctica's a magic place.
The life Bob knows is disappearing fast. He first worked here when Morse code was the only reliable link with the outside world.
And you worked on the run. When you walked out of here, or handed over to the next person, you thought, wow, I did it again. Now, just you walk out of the office and it all seems a bit dead.
This is Mawson Station. Yes, good afternoon. How are
There's
you?
not the static or the Morse code banging off in the background, the teleprinter's rattling. I'm sorry to see it go.
Why wouldn't you do another winter?
too long away from home. I've got a lovely wife and a lovely little daughter. I've got a daughter that turned 6 this year, and I've only seen her for 2 years, so I think it's time I hung up my crampons. I think so.
Bob's become a casualty of new technology. But just stepping outside makes you realise Antarctica is always a hostile and dangerous place. A sense of adventure still brings the new breed like Simon Edwards down here.
Well, the main reason I came down was something that I've always wanted to do, just to have an experience where just to get away, a real adventure. And I'm never going to get into space, and I always want to be an astronaut as a little kid. So I've sort of always looked at Antarctica as one place where I could get away in that sort of remote environment, harsh environment.
It's my second day here, and we're heading out to a very special place, the Emperor Penguin Colony at Australian. It's 40 kilometres off the coast from Mawson. Underneath the sea ice is water half a kilometre deep. It's almost midnight at Australian. I've wanted to come here all my life. Nothing symbolises the fragility of survival in Antarctica more than these superb creatures. Emperors are the biggest of all the penguins. They're a metre tall, and their chicks should be almost fully grown at this time of the year. I thought that coming here would be the highlight of my journey. Instead, I find tragedy. Hundreds of the chicks are dead or dying.
Barbara, how sad. So many dead emperor chicks.
Yes, it is, Tim. We go around every few days and collect the ones which unfortunately didn't make it.
I never expected to see this. The young birds are totally dependent on their parents, who have to make a round trip of 160 kilometres to open water and bring back food for their chicks. There's almost 24 hours of daylight now. Biologist Barbara Wienecke and her field assistant Kieran Lawton have been out here for the past 7 months. They're trying to find out what's gone wrong this year.
At his size, he should be at least 6.
Yeah.
He's obviously starved. There's absolutely no meat on him at all.
Barbara thinks that for some reason the adult birds haven't been able to bring back enough food to keep their chicks alive.
They are so tough, being able to survive in an environment which you can hardly make any more hostile than what it is. And on the other side, if you look at them, they are so fragile, and really changes to their environment would threaten them in absolutely no time, probably even small changes, which is really what this project is about.
They're trying to determine if deaths on this scale are part of a natural cycle or if they're caused by man, perhaps the impact of commercial fishing in the Southern Ocean.
Feels very skinny.
Any changes down here could have a devastating effect on the wildlife. has it meant to you to be out here with these birds?
That is probably something that is barely indescribable in words, Tim. It has been a truly tremendous experience, and the birds are fascinating. There is so much we try to find out about them, and the more we try, the more we find that there really are an awful lot more questions to be asked.
I'm deeply disturbed by what I've seen at Auster. There isn't time to fully take it all in. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, the sun is up again, and there's a 4-hour drive back to Mawson. It's my final day here and the last chance to look at what's left of the old Mawson station. Some of these old huts may have to go because the station needs more space for new buildings. Already people are arguing about how much of Mawson's history should be preserved. The old hands speak affectionately about the unique cultural value of the carpenter's workshop and told me not to miss it. The entire ceiling is lined with historic centrefolds, dating back to the times when men were men and women weren't here. It's Mawson's Sistine Chapel, a temple to enforced celibacy. The debate about keeping the old buildings clearly isn't about architectural merit. But they represent a vanishing way of life to station leader Bob Jones.
The historical significance has been assessed, and now we've got to look at them structurally, and then the hard decision's got to be made. You know, which ones are we really going to keep? I think this station is the heart and soul of Australia's Antarctic expeditions, and these old buildings give some link with the past and the people that were involved in those times.
One of the best-loved ties with the past has already gone. When Australians came to Antarctica to build Mawson Station, they brought huskies with them. The dogs were tough. They lived outside all the time. They played a vital part in the early exploration from Mawson. When the tractors broke down, the dogs kept going. They were pulled out of Antarctica in 1992 because of an international agreement banning all introduced species, except for humans, of course. Some say the station lost its soul when the dogs went. Like the huskies, it's time for me to leave. The long-range helicopters have come in to take us back to the ship. We have to fly non-stop for 400 kilometres, a lot of it over sea ice and open water. This direct flight to the ship has never been attempted before, but then they always say it's never easy to leave Antarctica.